The NFL Combine is complete in 2024. We've got some stuff to review there. A little disappointing for some to watch those performances, but we got records set there. So definitely some stuff to look forward to. And franchise tags on the block here. The NFL offseason is officially underway, and we are just about a week away from official NFL free agency in 2024. Oh, and by the way, Kirk Cousins may already be shopping homes in Atlanta. We'll talk about all this and everything relevant as we kick off March of 2024. This is Player Profiler Today, starting now. Little bit of a lag there, but welcome to Player Profiler Today. I am your host for Tuesdays this offseason, Ahan Rungta, at Ahan Rungta on Twitter. Those of you who want to chop it up with me there, we have got a lot of people live with us in chat right now. Hello to all of you. If you would like to join us in chat every single day of the NFL offseason, head over to the Player Profiler news channel or our Player Profiler Twitter. But if you want to chat with us in live chat, come over to the Player Profiler news channel on YouTube every single day at 7 p.m. Eastern Time. I will be here personally every Tuesday, but we got plenty of other amazing hosts to talk to you about the NFL every single day for the next few months. For now, it is March 5th, 2024, which means we've got a lot of stuff going on at the same time. We've got a transitional part of the offseason, and we've got some stuff to talk about. 3 different topics mainly, but all kind of rapid fire. If you want to drop your questions in chat or just want to talk about your favorite team, go ahead, talk in chat. Chef TPDB is already in chat, says offseason is fire at the moment. I agree, but we'll start talking about the NFL Combine. And on yesterday's show, Jack Kavanaugh, her boy, talked a little bit about the Combine. And he ended that show talking about Jason Kelce and the amazing career he had. Got to give a shout out myself to Jason Kelce, just one of the most relatable dudes in the NFL for a lot of us. So great guy, and has his own podcast, obviously, with his brother that some of you may have heard of, Travis. So shout out Jason Kelce. But the NFL Combine is complete. There are some winners, some losers. Number one winner of the NFL Combine is pretty much every team that needs a wide receiver. They've got options this year because this wide receiver class is deep. And I'll mention a couple of them on today's show. But shout out Rome Odunze, who absolutely lit up the NFL Combine. Not only did he come in with great, a great overall athletic profile, did well in pretty much every category that he was asked to, but there were clips of him staying out on the field until he got it right. He got all the drills down right. Dedication to his craft, and winning over teams with the little intangible stuff that many teams do like to see from a perhaps franchise-altering player, saying that he wants to be an all-rounded guy, not just a speed demon, not just a route runner, but also someone who can block, someone who can lead a locker room, all that intangible stuff, which we're not here to dissect all of that. We're here to talk about the analytics, talk about the numbers that jumped off the page. But Rome Odunze definitely stood out in a way at the NFL Combine. Not to mention, this class is also led by plenty of other big names, such as Marvin Harrison Jr. and Malik Neighbors. I wanted to mention a couple of others at other positions. Cornerback Quinion Mitchell from Toledo could be the first cornerback off the board solely because of the show he put on at the NFL Combine. A name to watch for sure. 4.33 40-yard dash, 38-inch vertical. Quinion Mitchell rising up the draft boards, and someone could potentially get themselves a speedy cornerback and there are a lot of teams. I'd say the Colts, a prime example of someone who are in the Quinion Mitchell territory of the draft and need a cornerback. Another player who we will probably not talk about much today, but maybe we will talk about plenty over the course of the offseason. I'm not seeing enough love for Ray Davis, running back Ray Davis from Kentucky. This guy entered the Combine as a 220-pound, 92nd percentile BMI power back. His comparisons from many analysts, from just his look, his play style, what he did in college, his most common comparison was Frank Gore. Now picture that athletic profile that ran a 4.53, because that's what he did. He ran a 4.53 in his first crack at the 40-yard dash. Someone that I will be looking at in dynasty board all season long, because the running back position, obviously the 40-yard dash, way more important than a position like wide receiver. But coming in overall with the 70th percentile speed score, and shout out to everybody working at Player Profiler to update these athletic profiles post combine, so you can now see player profiles. And for those of you who are live in stream, I'm going to share Ray Davis's profile on the screen. You can look up profiles such as this one. Type in your the prospect name or any player name on playerprofiler.com, and you will come up with their profile. You can see in college what Ray Davis did: 20 touchdowns in 2023 in 12 games. A power back for sure. Caught 29 passes each of his last 2 seasons as well. So there is some experience there. But the 40-yard dash was the last thing off the bucket list, so to speak. A 5'8" power back has run a 4.52, actually, counting his second run as well. Obviously, have to give one more shout out. If we're talking about specific players who stood out, have to give a shout out to Xavier Worthy. Xavier Worthy, you're going to hear this name a lot until draft day, maybe even after draft day. I saw Patrick Mahomes tweet about Xavier Worthy, talking about his first crack of the 40-yard, which was elite at 4.25, and then he tweeted again after his second run at the 40-yard dash. Officially, a new NFL record, breaks John Ross's 4.22 and runs a 4.21, 96th percentile burst score, as well, as you can see on your screen. So Xavier Worthy breaking some records, not telling of the full story, of course. And if you do download the Breakout Finder app from Player Profiler, which will be out soon this offseason, that will give you a clearer picture given his complete metrics, his complete profile from college. That'll give us a clearer, that model will give us a clearer view of how we should view Xavier Worthy as an overall player. Obviously, John Ross, not the poster boy for success stories in the NFL, the previous record holder. Maybe Xavier Worthy can break that stigma and have a great career in the NFL, be drafted maybe to a team that can keep him fantasy relevant for several years. But we got a long way to go before we get there for sure. Also wanted to talk about some losers at the NFL Combine. Feel like we need the hype. We need the Ray Davis hype more than we've seen. We need the wide receivers hype. We need the Quinion Mitchell hype. But we also need to talk about some of the negatives, because it wasn't a perfect experience. And the number one loser of the NFL Combine might be the NFL Combine, because some of the top talents, such as Caleb Williams, such as Marvin Harrison Jr., arguably the best by far players at their position, did not compete in all the events, and others got hurt during the Combine. Not to mention Jaden Daniels, Malik Neighbors, their teammates didn't even weigh in. So the NFL Combine is, teams are starting to realize that it's getting less and less important as you go by, especially when players don't have much to gain from competing in a combine. If they feel like they don't need that added edge to get drafted within the top 5 or whatnot. Caleb Williams, I think there's no scenario in which he doesn't get drafted number 1 overall. Didn't do the combine, still going to get drafted number 1 overall. Marvin Harrison Jr. might no longer be the first wide receiver off the board. Maybe Rome Odunze has pushed him over over the top. Maybe Malik Neighbors even is a name to watch, but he didn't feel the need to add any pressure, add potential of injury, potential of, adding red flags. And now on Twitter, you go on Twitter, everywhere you see, people will say, what's a red flag that they didn't compete? And there were some viral tweets about, people asking Caleb Williams, people asking athletes directly if they are scared to compete at the combine which is just as a concept silly to ask a player that. Their team clearly has something in mind. And as a whole, the real storyline out of this should be that the NFL Combine is not the most important thing in the world. You see many Combine failures ball out in the NFL. And of course, we have our John Rosses as well, who have, careers, but, not the biggest success stories in the NFL, even if they break records there. Specific standout quarterback at the Combine, since we had a few not even throw, not even compete. You got to talk about Spencer Rattler. This guy wasn't necessarily going to be a dual threat. He wasn't going to be one of the first few quarterbacks taken off the board. But to add to the bad news, finished last in every single testing drill among quarterbacks of the quarterbacks who did compete. According to many, he's not good. He's not a starter in the NFL. The Combine certainly did him no favors there. So stocks down for any Spencer Rattler believers just based off the Combine. And then safety Cameron Kitchens from Miami. Very disappointing. Finished with a 4.65 40 and a broad jump number of 9.2. For a little reference, for you and I, maybe that's great. But for safety in the NFL, that's not good. That's worse than several offensive linemen who competed in the Combine this weekend. So stocks down as well for safety Cameron Kitchens out of Miami. That's all I will say about the Combine right now, unless we have more questions in chat. Feel free to drop any chatter you may have. What are you looking for your favorite team? I personally am a Patriots fan, and I legitimately had a dream a few days ago that Jaden Daniels was wearing the Patriots blue. Came a rumor that the Jaden Daniels camp wants no part of New England. And Jaden Daniels quote tweets that with a cap emoji today. So something there maybe. Patriots fans certainly do want themselves some Jaden Daniels, but what do you want for your favorite team? We're going to talk about more of the offseason, franchise tags, free agency, but right after a quick word from the Podfather.
Oh, hey, it's Mr. Breakout Finder coming at you. The Breakout Finder features 3 key tools. A database of metrics that include speed score, college dominator, breakout age, but also Breakout Finder only stats like dynamic score, level of competition, teammate score. All of these things are part of the overall Breakout Finder algorithm that pinpoints the probability that a player will break out. Everyone's talking about my model does this and my model does that. Well, we give you the data points that go into the model. We have a feature that lets you compare players, and then we give you the precise probability of every wide receiver, every running back, sorted and filterable by class year. So when I'm talking to my friends and I need to show them why I'm so bullish on player X, I pull out the Breakout Finder and bam, there he is. So go to the App Store, go to Google Play. It's $5 to get the Breakout Finder, and then a couple extra bucks to get some of these additional enhanced stats. Go download it and thank me later.
We're back on Player Profiler today, your favorite offseason show for the NFL. For some reason, that was a little bit of a tongue twister for me. Forgive me, but we just talked about the NFL Combine 2024, had it a couple of days ago. We're in March, though, which means that the NFL free agency signing period is officially in our view. It officially begins on Wednesday, March 13th at 4 p.m. Eastern Time. And tampering period officially begins on Monday, March 11th at 12 noon Eastern Time, which is less than a week away. So we got to talk about it. Remember, the tampering period is usually when teams are allowed to contact the certified agents of the prospective unrestricted free agents. So, you may have some conspiracy theories about players and, agents talking to teams before that, but that ain't allowed. Reminder, that's going to start in 6 days. And the franchise tag deadline was today, March 5th at 4 p.m. Eastern Time. The deadline basically means all NFL teams must allocate their franchise or transition tag designations by 4 p.m. Eastern Time today, which was about 3 hours ago. Once the tags have been designated, the teams will still have a chance to work out long-term deals with the tagged players until mid-July. And the mid-July deadline, usually on July 15th, which is a Monday this year. And as a reminder for how this works for those of you who are new to the intricacies of the offseason, there are 3 tender options. There's one, the non-exclusive franchise tag, And when you see a tweet that says the franchise tag, unless it is specified, it usually means the non-exclusive franchise tag, which means this is a one-year tender of the average of the top 5 salaries at the player's position over the last 5 years, or 1.2 times his previous salary, whichever is higher. The tagged player can negotiate with other teams, but his current team has the right to match any offer or receive 2 first-round draft picks as compensation if he chooses to leave and signs with another team. 2, the exclusive franchise tag. Unlike the non-exclusive version, the tagging team still remains the right to negotiate with the player. The exclusivity raises the pay scale. And by the way, I'm pulling these words from the official NFL website. Shout out to them. The exclusivity raises the pay scale, the current average salary versus averaging the previous 5 years. This is a one-year tender offer of the average of the top 5 salaries, or 120% previous salary, whichever is greater, once again. And this is much more uncommon. This is much more uncommon than the non-exclusive tag. Generally, players for whom other teams would gladly give up 2 first-round picks receive this version. Basically, quarterbacks. Finally, we got the transition tag, and the transition tag is, again, a one-year tender offer for the average of the top 10 salaries at the position, and as opposed to the top 5. And this guarantees the original club the right of first refusal to match any offer the player might have from another club, and the tagging team is awarded no compensation if it chooses not to match the deal. All in all, let's talk about the ones that received some tags. Last week, we talked about the first move that the Bengals made, which was T. Higgins. I talked exclusively about T. Higgins. On February 26th, they pulled the trigger. T. Higgins, had to deal with a bunch of injuries last season, set some career lows, but he is set to come back, hopefully fully healthy, and set to earn $22 million in 2024. A few other star players were tagged. The Jags placed their franchise tag, the non-exclusive franchise tag, on their linebacker, Josh Allen, who will now earn $24 million on the tag in 2024. Guy had 33 quarterback hits and 17 and a half sacks last year. Speaking of linebackers, the Carolina Panthers placed the exclusive non-franchise, the Carolina Panthers placed the non-exclusive franchise tag on Brian Burns. And that happened today as well. 25 years old, Brian Burns, 8 sacks for Carolina in 2023, and $24 million earner in 2024. The New England Patriots used their transition tag on Kyle Duggar, and that also happened today. 9 interceptions in 4 seasons for New England. Any New England fan will tell you this guy is a dog and a key part to those Belichick defenses over the last few years. Another defensive back here, Jalen Johnson, who played exceptionally well in 2023, got the non-exclusive franchise tag today, and he is slated to earn $20 million on the tag in 2024. And they are in the process of negotiating a long-term deal. Jalen Johnson, someone that absolutely deserves it, balled out in 2023. One of the big reasons Chicago, by some metrics, were a top 12 defense against the pass last year. Justin Madubuike, the defensive tackle of the Baltimore Ravens, and for those of you who do know how to pronounce his name fluently, I apologize. Defensive tackle for the Baltimore Ravens. Ravens GM Eric DeCosta said in a statement today that they would continue to negotiate a long-term deal, and he received the non-exclusive franchise tag. Michael Pittman Jr., perhaps one of the most underrated players in the NFL, but according to some, the most underrated wide receiver in the NFL, absolute dog, an alpha in this league, hasn't gotten much quarterback support except those few weeks he played with Anthony Richardson. Michael Pittman Jr. got the non-exclusive franchise tag worth $22 million. And the two sides, the Colts and Pittman's camp, will continue to discuss a long-term deal. Another guy that absolutely deserves it. Another non-exclusive tag goes to L'Jarius Sneed, Super Bowl champion for the Kansas City Chiefs, someone that stepped it up in the playoffs. You talk about the Steve Spagnuolo run this season to win the Super Bowl. L'Jarius Sneed, perhaps the X factor, the most important piece outside of Chris Jones to that Super Bowl defense. L'Jarius Sneed gets the non-exclusive franchise tag, and the Chiefs have granted L'Jarius Sneed permission to seek a trade. He's set to earn $20 million, and there will be several teams in line to try to acquire some L'Jarius Sneed. Last but not the least, another former Super Bowl champion, Antoine Winfield Jr., the safety, got placed the non-exclusive franchise tag today by the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, and he's set to earn $17 million on the tag in 2024. A few names were not tagged. The number one name on the list, especially for fantasy managers, it's got to be Saquon Barkley. He was not franchise tagged ahead of Tuesday's deadline. He is set to hit free agency. Free safety Xavier McKinney was not tagged by the New York Giants and will hit free agency. And finally, Christian Wilkins, a fan favorite in Miami, defensive tackle for the Dolphins. He was not franchise tagged, so he will also hit free agency. And there you have it, most of pretty much every single franchise tag news in the NFL. The deadline has now passed as of a few hours ago. Free agency is pretty much in a week. Speaking of free agency, we're going to talk about one more before we end today's show. A quarterback that has been an enigma their whole career. Last week, we talked about Russell Wilson and how he is on his way out. Kirk Cousins is a free agent. And it looks like, according to some sources, he is on his way out of Minnesota. What does that mean for Minnesota, and what does that mean for Kirk Cousins? Well, for starters, Kirk Cousins has been rumored to already be looking for homes in Atlanta. The Falcons obviously could use a quarterback upgrade. And for many teams, Kirk Cousins is not a quarterback update, but you can definitely say for the Falcons, he is 100% an upgrade over their platoon of Taylor Heineke and Desmond Ridder last season. The Falcons can still address quarterback in the draft for sure, but if they're looking to compete as early as 2024 with a solid offensive core that they do have, the new coaching that they do have, a defense that certainly has a lot of good pieces. If they're looking to compete and make it back to the playoffs, Kirk Cousins certainly a viable option there, although nearing 36 years old. So Kirk Cousins, last season, pretty simple profile. Kind of what his profile was kind of what you can expect. He played with an amazing pass-catching core with Justin Jefferson, T.J. Hawkinson, and Jordan Addison. And if he does indeed land with Atlanta, he would go to another, maybe not quite as good, but another good pass-catching core with the likes of Drake London, Bijan Robinson, and of course, please do not forget about Kyle Pitts. Last season, Kirk Cousins, number 3 among all quarterbacks in true passer rating, number 2 in completion percentage when clean in the pocket, number 8 in completion percentage when under pressure, number 17, though, in deep ball accuracy rating, and number 3 in catchable pass rate, number 1 in catchable pass rate under pressure. The Atlanta Falcons look like they want to compete this year, and they could probably do that with a real quarterback such as Kirk Cousins. Is Kirk Cousins a good quarterback in this league? Yeah. Is he better when he has a good, healthy pass-catching core like the Falcons? Yes. Is he a game changer, and can he win you a Super Bowl on his back? Probably not. But if you're a Falcons fan, I wonder what you think of this. Are you happy that the Falcons are looking to compete this year and going to try to get themselves some Kirk Cousins? I certainly do want to see Kirk Cousins in Atlanta attached to another good pass-catching core for fantasy purposes, as Atlanta got some of the best athletes in the entire league that would be catching passes from whoever their quarterback is in 2024. Finally, what does this mean for the Vikings? What does this mean for the quarterback position tied to guys like Justin Jefferson and T.J. Hawkinson? Well, Trey Lance has emerged. You remember Trey Lance, the former top 3 NFL draft pick that dealt with injuries and then got replaced by Brock Purdy? Well, the Dallas Cowboys currently have rostership of Trey Lance, and the rumor is that the Dallas Cowboys may be able to trade Trey Lance. Obviously, they love what they have with Dak. They're going to keep Dak, and they could use Trey Lance as a trade asset to the Minnesota Vikings and get a draft pick out of it. Once again, if Kirk Cousins does head to Atlanta, I wouldn't mind seeing Trey Lance with a good pass-catching core in Minnesota. Now, of course, Trey Lance had a good passing-catching core, a great system when he did play a few games for the 49ers, but you got to remember he did deal with some injuries, and one of his games, his first game of the season, was in a monsoon against Chicago. The book is still out on Trey Lance. I'm just going to say it. And shout out to Rich Eisen for, pushing this rumor a little bit. And apparently nobody has downplayed it yet. The Trey Lance could be your next quarterback of the Minnesota Vikings. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, everybody who joined us in chat today for Player Profiler today, it has been a pleasure as always. For those of you who hung out in chat through the entire show, through these 30 minutes, appreciate you all for listening. We are back here every day of the NFL offseason at 7 p.m. Eastern Time, 4 p.m. Pacific. Convert that to whatever time zone you're at in the world, because we've got the offseason for a few more months, and we're going to talk about everyday news. We love how this league is active every day. We've either got drama on Twitter, or we've got action in the rumor department, or we've got players who are up to get drafted, prospects who balled out of the combine. We've always got something to talk about, and our host will have you covered every single day of the offseason. I've been your Tuesday host, Ahan Rungta. I will personally see you in 7 days, but we will see you back here on Player Profiler today on March 6th.
Hey, I want to take a moment to thank you for tuning in. It's important to me that all of our media be free. This is only possible because of you, allowing a true independent sports media enterprise to thrive unlike any other in the business. So please subscribe to the All In package to continue to make all of this possible, to ensure that all of our stats, information, data, content is available to you, especially you, the people that get the site and get the show.